The family of 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson is going to the top, asking the President Joe Biden, to intervene in getting Shanquella's killers arrested. Hi everyone, Empowering True Crime Alex here. And here we are, the voice for the voiceless. Our main focus is justice for the victims. And today we're going to talk about Shanquella Robinson's case. I made a note here. Shanquella Robinson was allegedly killed in Los Cabos in Mexico on October 29th. And it's almost 5 months later, and we don't know the status of Daejhanae Jackson, who is the alleged person who beat Shanquella to death, along with, of course, the other friends who were there on the trip, along with Shanquella, who were either accessory or somebody videotaped it. So, but at the very least, Daejhanae Jackson is the named person who was responsible ultimately for the death of Shanquella. For those of you who don't know, just gave a couple of details there, but Shanquella, 25-year-old, beautiful entrepreneur. She had her own store, clothing store, and she went with several friends down to Mexico, friends trip, and she ended up dying at the hands of her friends. And so there were some conflicting reports. There was the police report conflicts with the autopsy. The police report makes it sound like what the friends say, which is that she had alcohol poisoning, died several hours later. The autopsy reveals that she was basically beaten, and she had breaks in her spine and her back. And so still, almost 5 months later, we don't have clarity. There was an arrest warrant made for Daejhanae Jackson, and as of today, we don't know where she is or what's happened. It appears that in Mexico, there are some laws where anybody, they basically can't talk about it. So the police and investigators are not allowed to talk about the case once there is some, arrest made or arrest warrants made. So there are some protections for those people. But it's been months. It's been months. So Shanquella's family is fed up, and they are going to the top, going to President Biden to see what can be done. So there's an article that came out in the Charlotte Observer. The Charlotte Observer, Shanquella Robinson was from the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so the Charlotte Observer has really been on top of what's happening domestically, also trying to see what's happening in Mexico as well. So they've kind of been like the main source of information. It says here, suspect in Shanquella Robinson's death is named in the letter sent to the White House. A 26-year-old woman from North Carolina is wanted by police in Cabo, Mexico, who are investigating the killing of Shanquella Robinson, according to lawyers who are imploring U.S. officials to act on a pending extradition request. At a recent press conference and in a letter dated March 13th to President Joe Biden and diplomatic leaders, attorneys Ben Crump and Sue Ann Robinson said Daejhanae Jackson is wanted by Mexican authorities. A copy of the letter was shared with the Charlotte Observer on Tuesday by a representative with the law firm. The letter presents findings from a trip Sue Ann Robinson took to Mexico recently, and the packet of information includes 18 pages, which includes an autopsy and some prosecutor and police records not previously released. Shanquella Robinson from Charlotte died October 29th under suspicious circumstances while on vacation with 6 acquaintances. She was 25. Previously, authorities in Mexico said a warrant was issued for the arrest of an American citizen who traveled with Robinson. The charge, officials said then, was femicide, a form of homicide. Part of the outcry and intense interest on the case revolves around how U.S. officials have handled matters, including that no suspect has been taken into custody. There was actually some confusion because Gerardo Zúñiga, who is a reporter for the local newspaper there in Los Cabos, said that she was arrested. We already knew that an arrest warrant has been made, but there was some confusion on his sources, the information he was getting, that Daejhanae had been arrested, and there isn't any proof of that. So we don't have any proof or evidence that she has actually been arrested. Jackson, not officially named until recently, was believed by many following the case closely to be the suspect. Attention centered on claims she was the person seen beating Robinson in a video just before she died. But until now, no public officials or entities responsible for sharing information about criminal cases have named a suspect. In Mexico, a federal law offers some protection pre-trial for those accused of crimes, which typically means police there keep private certain documents, blur mugshots, and refrain from releasing full names when a person is arrested. But over the months, the identities of those dubbed the Cabo Six have come to light via leaks to the media, conversations with friends of people on the trip, and a copy of the vacation home check-in list. In the letter to Biden and U.S. Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken, Crump and Sue Ann Robinson say Jackson was identified as a suspect upon investigation by the Attorney General's office in Baja California Sur, where the popular vacation destination of Cabo San Lucas is located. Attorney Sue Ann Robinson is not related to Shanquella Robinson. So this is interesting. I actually didn't know this. Who was Daejhanae Jackson? A criminal background check of Daejhanae shows 2 prior arrests in North Carolina on misdemeanor non-violent offenses. In 2018, public records showed Jackson pleaded to a lesser charge on a speeding offense in Guilford County. Public records show Jackson's last known address is Jamestown, close to High Point. And the records show that she graduated from Winston-Salem State University, which is also Robinson's alma mater. Jackson, according to the letter from Crump's and Robinson's law office, was one of 3 people who returned Robinson's luggage to her mother's home in Charlotte and told her mother Shanquella died of alcohol poisoning. But that explanation contradicts what official records say about Robinson's condition and death. An autopsy indicates Robinson died from severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, or a broken neck, the Charlotte Observer has previously reported. According to a statement to police from a doctor who was called to the Cabo Villa October 29th, Robinson was alive when medical help arrived and suffered a seizure. On the police report, the doctor observed Robinson had stable, vital signs but was dehydrated, unable to communicate verbally, and appeared to be inebriated. No official record released has shown authorities deemed alcohol to be the leading cause of Robinson's death, the Observer previously reported. Witnesses, a lawyer said, identified Jackson as a person seen beating Shanquella Robinson on the viral video that surfaced after her death. So, wow, it says here, in the 4 months since her death, it's actually, I would say, almost 5 months, the fight for Shanquella Robinson has moved from Charlotte to Washington, D.C., where prominent civil rights activists are calling on President Joe Biden to intervene in her case. Crump and Robinson say the U.S. needs to either extradite the person named on an arrest warrant issued by Mexican officials or to take over jurisdiction and prosecute that person in the U.S. So it's like, get her to Mexico where she has an arrest warrant or prosecute in the U.S. I mean, this is a murder. This is murder. I mean, and if somebody's going to do that in a different country, they're a threat here in the U.S., right? There was an active FBI investigation into Robinson's death, the agency confirmed in November. The Department of State previously told the Observer it would not comment on extradition matters. The Department of State supports a thorough investigation into the circumstances of this incident and is closely monitoring local authorities' investigation. We refer you to Mexican authorities for further questions regarding an investigation, the Department of State said. See, that's the frustrating part. Mexico can't talk. Like, they've got laws that the police, the investigators, they're not allowed to talk. So you're not getting any information from the Mexican authorities, and we're not getting information from the Department of State and from U.S. authorities. So, and we don't seem to have an official arrest. We don't know if she's in custody. So I can see where it's not only extremely frustrating for anybody following this case, but imagine how her family feels, that knowing that a murderer, and not for nothing, but the others who were involved either as accomplices, who videoed it, who allowed it, all of that, like all those people are free. It's got to be incredibly frustrating. I mean, just infuriating. And I just, when you're already dealing with the grief of the person dying, and then on top of that, that justice isn't being served. So I would love to know, hopefully getting this up to the president will do something, right? I hope that there is, that the president is able to pull some strings and see if either she can actually, Daejhanae can be extradited and sent to Mexico to face prosecution there, or be prosecuted here in the U.S. Either way, 2 solutions that seem very good, right? And another point to make, interestingly, if I said it earlier, in Mexico, this would be called a femicide. So anytime a woman is killed, it's not just homicide; it's called femicide. So it's its own category, because apparently several women die under these suspicious circumstances in domestic violence type situations, and so femicide is what is being what the charge is in Mexico. Now, this is last little part here I wanted to watch. This is part of the report from the Charlotte Observer.
Long and Robinson are eagerly awaiting updates from the FBI and Mexican authorities on how Shanquella died. It comes as a journalist for a Cabo publication gave Channel 9 new details on what friends told police about what happened. The journalist for Metropala MX provided us with what he says is the text of the police report. We do not have a copy of the report to independently verify. According to him, the report says the friends told the responding doctor that Shanquella drank a lot of alcohol and that the friends wanted her treated in the room, not the hospital. The report text states Shanquella had poor verbal response when the doctor arrived and that she died within 3 hours. He says the police report lists her death as cardiac arrest. It doesn't mention the severe spinal cord and neck injuries that the death certificate lists as Shanquella's cause of death. The autopsy also doesn't mention alcohol. It states she died within 15 minutes of her injury and that Shanquella Robinson was found unconscious in her living room.
The autopsy should overrule the police report because the police report is written by cops and the cops are not forensics experts.
Fabian Meneses is a criminal defense attorney in Tijuana, Mexico. He says the police report shouldn't be taken as definitive fact. It's just a document listing what officers were told by people on scene.
I would say that most police reports don't have the truth because it's either hearsay or they're being custom tailored to what the police needs to be in the report.
The police report was written the day Shanquella died, 3 weeks before Mexican authorities launched a femicide investigation. That's the killing of a woman because of their gender. Long and Robinson say they are hopeful the FBI gets to the bottom of this and finds out what really happened.
I'm confident that they will.
His family has commissioned a private autopsy. They do not have the results back yet. They also say the coroner sent them a photo of Shanquella after she died, and she had a busted lip, swollen eye, and bruised face. None of that was in the police report.
And that's a really good point to make because we're assuming that the police investigates in the same way that they do here in the US. And that's not the case, right? So it would be really interesting to see what's in that autopsy report and also what comes out in the independent autopsy report that was made. Very concerning that the police report seems to be like just hearsay, like the attorney said, and not actually what they observed was happening. So that is definitely concerning. Hopefully some justice will be served for Shanquella. Let's pray that President Biden steps in and does something, or at least somebody in his administration, and puts it to the front of the line so that there can be some justice, so that Shanquella's killers are brought to justice. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I appreciate if you learned something today, if you enjoy my style of covering true crime, that you like this video, that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my videos. Stay safe, stay thriving, follow your intuition, and keep it empowering. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.